So good morning. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Today we're going through use it or lose it tendency that Charlie Munger is describing in his book Poor Charlie's Almanac in the talk The Psychology of Human Misjudgment. This is important because if we spend a lot of time learning new things and then we don't practice them continually, we lose these qualities. We lose these skills that we have put so much effort into learning. And then we have actually wasted our time in the first place. It might also cause us to think that we're much smarter than we actually are. Because if we have practiced all these skills in the past but not repeated them, then we have actually lost them. We don't have these skills anymore, even though we think that we have them. Charlie Munger, he describes that the only group of people or the only profession that really continually practices their skills and make sure that they're really up to date is pilots. Because they cannot afford to lose any of their skills. They cannot take their degree 10 years ago and then not practice how to maneuver a plane crash, for example. They really need to be skilled and up to date with handling different situations. So they use flight simulators to practice these skills. Charlie Munger, he said that we should do the same thing in the practices we have in our life and with our core skills. And this should be our duty to continue to develop and refine our skills. He says that if we don't practice our skills, we fall back to what he calls man with a hammer syndrome. That we only have our primary skill that we work with in our job, for example. And then we try to solve all problems in life with this one skill. He says that to a man with a hammer, all problems look like a nail. He also says that we will have trouble learning new knowledge if we are losing our old knowledge. Because if we have a kind of network of knowledge that we have learned before, but it starts to fade, we will have holes in this network of wisdom or worldly wisdom, as Charlie Munger speaks about. So if we then try to learn new knowledge and put in this web, if the old web is weak, then or has holes in it, we will have really difficulty learning new knowledge or applying new knowledge in this web. And then you might ask, how do we continue to practice all our skills that we have learned? Charlie, he recommends having a checklist with the most important skills in our life so that we can practice them regularly. And we could, for example, make sure to each week we dive into one, or we have one per month that we dive into. Or if it's a language, we could watch movies in that particular language. We could have read a book or two about that language per month. One interesting fact is that both Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they played a lot of bridge. And I think that they did this to really practice their brain in their logical thinking, to think many steps ahead and to keep their logical abilities up to date. Because then when they practiced that as a game, they then became smarter and more sharp in financial decisions and with their investments. Charlie says that one trick to make our knowledge stick more is that when we learn something new, that we make sure to get it to a level of fluency. Because then if we practice something, a new language to fluency, and then it will stick more. It will be easier for us if we, for example, don't use it for 6 months for it to come back. It will be easier for it to come back. So if we study a little bit, then it will only kind of be sleeping and we just wake up that knowledge and it will be there more easily available. He says the other opposite is if someone who just studies just before an exam in school, for example, the week before, and then knows everything to nail the exam, but they haven't developed the deep knowledge of fluency in that field. That type of learning, he says, will be much more vague and you will not be able to keep it. It will fade much faster than if you learn the subject to fluency. And this becomes very evident if we're learning one instrument. So if we have practiced the guitar, for example, and we have practiced so much that we're really fluent in the guitar, then even if we don't play for a few months or something and we pick it up, it will go faster until we reach that same level again. rather than if we only learned 3 chords and played a little sporadically, and then we leave it for 6 months and then we pick it up. Then it would be much more difficult to learn the same knowledge again. So reaching a level of fluency is a great way to make the knowledge stick deeper. And this is something that I can really relate to as a singer and a musician, because when I was coaching my students, I focused more on helping them to develop rather than also practicing my own skills. And then I noticed for example, my high register was not so good anymore. But when I started to practice again, I saw effects very, very fast that it started to come back. So if we're learning something, making sure to learn it to a level of fluency really helps it to stick. It also highlights how important it is to practice when we're looking at the area of music, for example. If we look at a classical piano player, there is no room for them to make mistakes when they play a difficult piece. So they really need to know it really, really, really well. So they practice several hours every day just to learn these pieces. So we can really learn from musicians how they practice and apply the same discipline and the same methods of learning in other areas. For example, if we want to be better at math or finance or for investing or in our business. And when I first read about this, it was a great reminder to keep practicing my skills, because otherwise all that stuff that I've been practicing and have learned in the past has been wasted. So I really need to make sure to continue to use it. Otherwise, I will lose it. It's really use it or lose it tendency. Another reason why we want to continue to use our core skills and abilities is because we want to keep our brain fit. Because if we stop using our brain and stop practicing, then we will soon lose our abilities. And this becomes more and more important as we get older. Because when we're in our 20s, the brain is super fast and we can learn things very, very fast. But if we stop learning and stop practicing, the mind's abilities start to fade quite quickly. And I think Charlie Munger, he was a great example of this, because he dedicated the best hours of his day, the mornings, for reading and studying. And he continued to be really sharp and up to date on many topics and in many different fields, so that he could take great decisions with investments, so that he could contribute to society in good ways. He could still be on the boards of different companies, and he designed houses, for example, and did many things and was very active in society. And that's because he was able to maintain his mental abilities. He did not lose them as he got older. The only paradox I've found with this tendency is that neither Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett, they paid so much attention to their physical fitness. So one could say that if we're thinking use it or lose it tendency, we should continue to use our body, because otherwise it will start to fade and we will get weaker as we get old. But they more paid attention to their mind with this tendency. And Charlie Munger, he said that his doctors, they used to tell that he should do more physical activity, but then he used to joke about, but all of them are dead now, so he outlived his doctors. But when you study his life, he also played a lot of tennis, he played a lot of golf, so he did a lot of moving around and more everyday activities, which could be equivalent to how people in the blue zones live, that they do more low, not so heavy physical activities, but more integrated in their everyday life, and more doing joyful activities like tennis or playing golf and things he really enjoyed, rather than doing heavy physical exercise just for the sake of being fit. So I think that is an interesting paradox, and that could be worth looking more into. So I hope this inspired you to practice your skills more and to keep your brain fit as you're getting older. And why is this important? Because we cannot see our abilities fade. Because as we get older, if we're doing things right, our net worth will grow. We will get richer and richer as we get older. then we cannot afford to become more stupid as we get older. Then we need to take wiser decisions with our money, and the quality of our decisions becomes very, very important as we get older. So then we need to have a fit mind so that we can take these good decisions. So continuing to practice our skills, practicing our mind, becomes very, very important when we get older. So I hope you find this enjoyable and interesting, and that it challenged you to take on and to continue to develop your skills so you don't lose them. So have a great day, and hope to see you soon again.